What's the best Zettelkasten app that you can use today? Hi there, my name is Brian Collins. Welcome to the Become a Writer Today channel. The Zettelkasten has radically changed how I write and research non-fiction. It's also helping a lot of other writers write and research fiction too. Now, I love testing the latest writing apps, as you can tell from the content on the channel. So in this video, I'm going to give you a roundup of some of the best apps that you can use to build your personal Zettelkasten or slipbox. Hope you enjoy the content in this video, all about the Zettelkasten software and tools that are out there. If you do, hit thumbs up, and if you want to get more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're unfamiliar with the Zettelkasten meta, they do have videos elsewhere on the channel about it, which I'd recommend you check out. But in summary, it involves coming across an idea, capturing the idea in a trusted Zettelkasten system, writing a reaction to the idea, and then interlinking each of these ideas. And then ultimately, you'll turn all of these research and all of these notes that you've taken into something that you're going to publish. Now, there's a little bit more to it than that, but so I do cover the Zettelkasten method elsewhere in the channel and in some podcast episodes, and I'll put links to those in the video notes. Obsidian is a popular app that people are using to build a Zettelkasten. It's available on Mac OS. It's also available on Windows, on Linux, and iOS and Play, but the developers primarily focus on Mac OS. And you'll notice here that it says version 0.14, so it is still relatively new. That said, it has a big community behind it, and it can look a little bit overwhelming when you see the screenshot, but it's actually relatively easy to use. It's also free. There is a way that you can support the team by relying on them to sync your notes across different devices, but you can use this for free, so that's why I like it. Now, I use Obsidian on my iPhone and on Mac OS, so I'm going to open up my Obsidian so you can see what my Zettelkasten looks like. So basically, I have it organized into permanent notes, daily notes, extracts from books and articles, other Zettels linking to notes inside of my Zettelkasten. And why I like Obsidian is that it's really easy to create notes and to interlink them. So to show you what I mean, I'm just going to click on permanent notes. And the first note I have here is, does this nourish me? And this is a question that I would ask about creative work. And you can see here that if I click on this, it'll take me through to another note that I have about what is the most important problem in your field. Now, one of the key principles of the Zettelkasten is that you interlink your notes, and this is easy to do in Obsidian. So I have 3,000 plus notes, and if I press the square bracket twice, type in a key term, it'll search all of my notes, and it'll give me some suggestions. And this enables me to create links between individual notes quickly and easily. And of course, I can split my Obsidian instance horizontally or vertically, and it's relatively keyboard friendly, and it also supports Markdown. Now, the only, downside really to Obsidian is that with all the plugins and the different options inside of it, perhaps it can get a little bit overwhelming, and there is a small, learning curve if you want to use it. But the biggest reason why you should use Obsidian is that you maintain complete control over your notes, because it can basically sync notes that are on a folder on your computer, or alternatively, you can use Obsidian Sync. So definitely one that I'd recommend checking out, and it's probably the app I use the most for my Zettelkasten, but there is other options. One great resource for learning about the Zettelkasten method is run by Sasha Fast and team. I interviewed Sasha for the Become a Writer Today podcast, and I'll put a link to that in the video notes. So they've actually built a type of software dedicated to the Zettelkasten. It costs €20 per month, so a little bit more than $20. Unfortunately, it's Mac OS only. If you found Obsidian overwhelming, the archive is probably a good choice. It just sits on top of a folder on your computer or a folder of markdown files, and it doesn't contain any fancy frills or distractions or plugins, and there's no real learning curve. So I have the archive open here, and it's reading the same Zettelkasten that I had open a few moments ago with Obsidian. So if I type in creative, you can see how fast search is. It's surfacing all of my markdown notes, and I can navigate these with the arrow key. And you can use this, I suppose, to write quickly and easily. Now, the only other downside that I could think of with the archive, and I do really like it, is just that it's a little bit harder to do internal links. So if I press the square bracket twice, there's no way to do bi-directional linking quickly and easily. But they do have another approach to doing internal links where you can generate Zettel IDs. That said, that doesn't really fit into my Zettelkasten workflow. But that said, if you wanted something to just focus on writing and not worry about plugins or any type of learning curve, then this is probably a great choice. The next Zettelkasten app that you may want to consider is called Bear. It's like a lightweight version of Evernote. Mac only and iOS only, unfortunately, but don't worry, I'm going to give you an option in a moment if you're on Windows. Bear is really good at internal links. and at sync, and it's a joy to use. And I like it because I suppose it feels a little less bloated than Evernote. In terms of pricing, it is affordable, $149 per month or $14.99 annually with a 1 month free trial. Now I pulled all of my notes into Bear, and what I liked is that it supports Markdown. So to show you an example, I can put in 2 hashtags and then it'll convert it to a subheading. I can put in this bracket here and it will convert it to a block quote. I can use stars for bullet points. And like any good Zettelkasten tool, it excels at enabling users to add internal links. So I just put in 2 square brackets and then I type in creative, and then it will search all of my notes inside of Bear. Now, the only downside to using Bear for your Zettelkasten is that you're putting all of your notes into Bear, and all of these notes or links are internal links within Bear. So in other words, if you decide to take your notes out of Bear at some point, you will have to change these links manually. And a lot of people who use the Zettelkasten method recommend simply using Markdown for that reason, because you don't have to worry as much about software. You simply have to only concern yourself with taking notes. And Obsidian and the archive do handle links that way. So that is something to consider. But perhaps you don't care about that. If you don't, then Bear could be a good choice for you. The next tool that you could consider for your Zettelkasten has a cult following. It's called Roam Research. It's only been around a couple of years, and it's available on Mac OS and now on Windows and Linux, and also apps for iOS, Google Play. You can try it for free, but you won't get very far because you'll quickly fill up what's available to free users. So you will need to pay $15 per month or $165 per year. So at that price point, it's probably for those who are a little bit more serious at or about note taking. That said, Roam Research has a cult following, and as you can see from these pictures, it's not just for taking notes, it's also for organizing your day, for organizing your to-do lists, and for note taking, and basically for everything. So the more you put into Roam Research, the more value you get from it. Now, I went ahead and took out a premium a subscription to Roam Research, and I tested it extensively. That said, I didn't go as far as pulling all of my Zettelkasten notes into it for the same caveat that I had a few moments ago with Bear. Basically, once your notes are in Roam Research, it's much harder to get them back out because of the way it handles internal links and so on. That said, I wanted to show you how to use Roam Research. There is a learning curve, so I do recommend that you watch their videos if you're going to try it. But that said, when you open Roam Research, you're simply presented with a daily note like this. Instead of worrying about what the title of the note should be, just simply write down whatever is on your mind and give it context with either a hashtag or by using the square brackets. And I'm going to show you now how both work. So you can see here that it's changed these to links automatically. So if I click on Zettelkasten, I have some notes about the Zettelkasten in Roam Research already. Now it's surfaced all of the notes about the Zettelkasten inside of Roam Research. So these are different notes that I have in Roam Research where I've talked about the Zettelkasten method. In other words, it's taking care of the internal links for me. Let's click on one here, put it in the freezer, which was about the writer Joan Didion's writing routine. You can see here the bullet point notes that I have inside of Roam Research, the other internal links, and also where this note has been linked to elsewhere inside of Roam Research. And again, you can do the same with hashtags. So I can click on these hashtags and see my creativity notes. I can click on metaphor and see my metaphor notes and so on. So Roam Research is something that I recommend checking out if you're prepared to invest a little bit more time in your Zettelkasten method. With the caveat that you can also use it for planning your day with the calendar, for your to-do lists, for your CRM, and basically for everything and anything. Unlike Obsidian, it does have a graph overview where you can see how different notes link together. So I don't have a huge amount of notes, so mine looks a bit sparse. To show you this in context, here is my Obsidian graph overview, and you can see here I have thousands of notes. Now, one trend I did notice is that some Roam users do eventually navigate away from Roam to Obsidian. So do factor that in if you're going to use Roam Research. But that said, it does have a cult following and it is really popular. The next app that you can use for your Zettelkasten is platform agnostic. It's called Notion. Notion, like Roam Research, has a cult following, and like Roam Research, there's a bit of a learning curve and it can do lots of different things. So it's not just for Zettelkasten. You can use it to create Kanban boards for managing your workflow. You can use it to collaborate with other people on your team. You can also use it for a to-do list and of course for note-taking and for product roadmaps and basically anything and everything. Now, Notion isn't free, so although you can test it out, you're quickly going to need to upgrade to at least $4 per month. Not a huge amount of money if you're taking note-taking seriously. Now, I did test Notion a few months ago, so I used some of it to build out a reading list, to put in some prompts for my journal, and also to create some quick notes. One thing to understand about Notion is that it uses something called blocks. So if I type in, this is a block, this is a second block, then I can drag and drop these around with my mouse. In terms of internal links, I can search for internal links in the same way that I showed you with Obsidian and also with Roam Research and some of the other apps. So it is good for linking to sub pages and child pages. Now again, Notion has a cult following, like I said, and it does support Markdown too. The reason why I didn't stick with Notion is simple. Personally, I found the fact that it does to-do lists and Kanban boards and collaboration and everything else alongside note-taking just a little bit overwhelming. I like to use different apps for those things, but that's just based on how I like to work. The other reason why I didn't use it is I didn't want to lock my notes into Notion. I do prefer personally using Markdown, which again takes me back to Obsidian and also to using the archive. Or sorry, not Markdown. I do prefer having notes on a file in my computer that I can open with any app. So that's why I don't want them locked into a proprietary app. But again, you might not necessarily care about that. And if you don't, Notion could be for you. Next up, I have two apps which I haven't tested as extensively, but which are also popular with the Zettelkasten community and which also support Markdown, internal links, and so on. The first is Zetter, which is particularly popular with academics. Fortunately, it appears to be Mac OS only, and it does support internal links and notes. It doesn't bill itself as a word processor, and it's something that will integrate with referencing apps and citation apps like Zotero. So if you're in academia, this could be a good choice for you. In terms of pricing, so when you go to the download page, you can actually see that it's free to try out or free to use, so you don't have to worry about that. The other app that I haven't tested extensively, but which is popular, is called Logsec. Again, it's something that you can use to create your personal knowledge database. It works similar to Obsidian, so it has the knowledge graph, and it basically just syncs with a series of files and folders on your computer. So basically I could download the desktop version of this and just use this alongside Obsidian, but have the one note database. And that is the key advantage of not locking your notes into a single system. You can overlay this type of software on top of it and use it. I went ahead and installed Logsec onto my computer, and it works pretty similarly to Roam Research. So I was able to read the local folder on my computer of all my Zettelkasten files, so you can see them here. And when you open up Logsec, you can see it presents a daily note, like in Roam Search, and I can type editing and also add bi-directional links for my Zettelkasten about #creativity. So this could be a potential option if you don't want to pay $15 per month for Roam Research, but you do like how it handles notes. And again, it does do the linked and unlinked references. Now, in terms of the pricing, again, it's free to use. So when you're ready or when you've used the free version, you can support it by making a donation, or you can back the team. And I would encourage you to do that, whether it's with Obsidian or Logsec or whatever it is, because it does take a lot of work to build these kind of apps. Two other options that you may want to consider are Hypernotes and Craft. So Hypernotes builds itself as a type of Zettelkasten software outright, and it supports bi-directional linking, and it's mobile ready and it's relatively affordable. So if we go over to the pricing page, you can try it for free, and then when you're ready, you'll probably need to upgrade for €8 per month to get up to 10,000 notes. Imagine it would take some time to get to 80,000 notes. Hypernotes is also popular because of some of its key features. So it supports outlining, and it has a semantic graph or knowledge graph like Obsidian, and it supports rich text. Now again, I didn't use this because I don't like locking my notes into a proprietary system, but it could be a good option if you don't care about that and you want something that's purpose built for the Zettelkasten. In terms of availability or what platforms it's available on, you can access it via your web browser. The other option that you may want to consider is Craft, which is a new note-taking app for iOS and Apple. And, it supports bi-directional linking. It's got a really nice design. I think it actually won a design award. Yes, it did. Yeah, App of the Day and Best App of 2021. So definitely something to check out. I've started to experiment with Craft, and I may publish a review at some point on the channel just because of how compelling and visually pleasing it is to use. It's free to try out. It works based on the principle of blocks, like I showed you in Notion a few moments ago. But at some point, you will need to upgrade to $4 per month, particularly if you have lots of different notes or if you want to collaborate with other people. So that's an overview of some of the best apps that you can use for the Zettelkasten method. My recommendation, or the one that I use the most, is Obsidian, followed by the Archive, simply because I don't like to lock my notes into any proprietary system. That said, remember, it's better to have a system that you use regularly rather than obsessing about the right tools. So pick one tool and get to work with taking your notes for the Zettelkasten method.